In the quiet twilight of a dusty Montana ranch town, where the sun dipped low behind jagged mountains like a weary traveler seeking rest, Jack Harlan wiped the sweat from his brow and gazed at his modest plot of land. At 42, he was a man etched by hardship, widowed young, left to raise his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, on a farm that barely yielded enough to keep the wolves from the door. His wife, Sarah, had been taken by cancer 3 years prior, leaving behind a void as vast as the prairies. Jack's days blurred into nights of mending fences, tending crops, and whispering bedtime stories to Lily about stars that watched over them like guardian angels. But tonight, as he loaded the last bale of hay into his battered truck, a sleek black sedan pulled up the gravel drive, its engine purring like a secret untold. Out stepped Eleanor Voss, the wealthiest widow in the county, her silver hair catching the fading light like threads of moonlight. At 58, she commanded respect and whispers alike, heiress to a sprawling 10,000-acre estate left by her late husband, an oil baron who'd built an empire from the earth itself. Eleanor was elegant, poised, but her eyes held a loneliness that no fortune could fill. Her marriage had been one of convenience, childless and cold, and since his passing, she'd wandered her vast halls like a ghost in her own life. She'd watched Jack from afar, at the local diner where he tipped generously despite his empty pockets, at the school where he volunteered to fix the playground swings, his calloused hands gentle with the children. He was the kind of man who reminded her of what humanity could be, raw, real, unyielding in kindness. "Mr. Harlan," she said, her voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of vulnerability, "I've come with an offer you might find intriguing." Jack straightened, his flannel shirt clinging to his frame, curiosity flickering in his tired blue eyes. She explained it plainly, no frills, 500 acres of her prime land, fertile, water-rich soil that could turn his struggling farm into a legacy for Lily. In exchange? One night. Just one, in her grand estate, where she could feel the warmth of companionship she'd long forgotten. It was bold, almost scandalous, born from her isolation and a desperate bid to reclaim some spark of life. Jack's face flushed, not with anger, but with a quiet surprise. He removed his hat, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair, the weight of her words settling like dust after a storm. The town would have gossiped for years if they'd known, Eleanor Voss, the ice queen of the valleys, propositioning the humble single dad. But Jack didn't lash out or flee. Instead, he invited her inside his modest cabin, where Lily was humming while setting the table for a simple supper of beans and cornbread. The widow hesitated at the threshold, her designer heels clicking uncertainly on the worn porch. "Why me?" Jack asked softly, pouring her a cup of black coffee as they sat by the flickering kerosene lamp. Eleanor confessed, she'd seen his selflessness, how he gave his last dollar to a neighbor's medical fund, how he taught Lily to share her toys with the orphanage kids. "You're a good man, Jack. In a world that's forgotten goodness, you shine." As the evening unfolded, an unexpected turn emerged. Jack didn't accept or reject outright. He listened, truly listened, to her tales of a loveless marriage, of boardrooms where she wielded power but felt invisible, of nights staring at empty ceilings wishing for a child's laughter or a partner's whisper. Lily, sensing the tension, brought Eleanor a drawing, a crude sketch of a family under a rainbow. "This is for you, ma'am," the girl said shyly. "You look sad, like Mommy did sometimes." Eleanor's eyes welled, no one had seen her pain in years. Jack watched, his heart stirring not with desire for land, but with empathy for this woman who'd built walls higher than her fences. Then came the moment of profound realization. As the clock ticked toward midnight, Eleanor pressed again, "The land could change everything for you and Lily. Security, education, a future." Jack leaned forward, his voice steady like the roots of an old oak. "Mrs. Voss, Eleanor, I've thought on it. That land, it's tempting. God knows I've prayed for a miracle to keep this roof over our heads. But one night? That ain't mine to give. Sarah's memory lives in me, and Lily deserves a dad who stands by his values." Eleanor's composure cracked, expecting rejection, perhaps even judgment. But Jack continued, his words a gentle thunder. What I'd ask instead, stun me if it don't sound crazy. Don't give me the land. Give it to the town. Turn those 500 acres into a community farm. A place where folks like me, struggling families, can work shares, grow food, teach kids about the earth. Build a center there for widows and orphans, a haven where loneliness don't win. And if you're willing, join us. Teach Lily and the others about business, about strength. You've got a fortune, but maybe what you need is family, not bought, but built. The room fell silent, save for the distant hoot of an owl. Eleanor stared, stunned, her manicured hands trembling around the coffee mug. She'd offered indulgence, a transaction of flesh and soil, but Jack had countered with selflessness, seeing not her wealth, but her wound. In that instant, a profound realization washed over her. All her acres couldn't buy what Jack embodied, the power of humanity, untainted by greed. Tears streamed down her face, not of rejection, but of awakening. You'd turn down a fortune for strangers? For me, she whispered. Jack nodded, placing a hand on hers. Ain't about turning down. It's about lifting up. Kindness ain't a trade, it's a ripple. Starts with one act, changes everything. The emotional climax built like a prairie storm. Eleanor rose, but instead of leaving in defeat, she embraced Lily, then Jack, her sobs muffled against his shoulder. I've been so alone, she admitted, chasing shadows of what I thought I needed. In that embrace, compassion bridged their worlds, Jack's generosity transforming her isolation into purpose. By dawn, they'd sketched plans on napkin scraps, the Harlanvoss Community Ranch, where single parents could find support, widows share stories, and children like Lily learn that hope grows from shared soil. Months later, the 500 acres bloomed not just with crops, but with life. Jack managed the farm, his burdens lightened by community hands. Eleanor, no longer a recluse, taught workshops on resilience, her laughter echoing alongside Lily's. The town thrived, families mended, and whispers turned to tales of inspiration. Jack and Eleanor found not romance, but a deeper bond, friends forged in selflessness, proving that true wealth lies in giving. In the end, as Jack watched Lily run through fields once destined for solitude, he knew the real miracle wasn't land or knights, but the human heart's capacity to choose kindness over gain. And in a world often divided by fences, their story reminded all, one selfless act can seed a legacy of hope, blooming eternal under the vast American sky.